Hi, I'm Brittany.
Hi, I'm Tyler.
Hi, I'm John,
Hi, I'm Bryant.
and this is Nature.
Versus Nurture.
Alright, nature versus nurture is a controversy over the relative contributions of biology and experience to the development of our traits and behaviors. Keep going.
The nature versus nurture debate weaves threads through ancient Greek's time to our own. Philosopher Plato assumed that character and intelligence are largely inherited and that certain ideas are inborn. Aristotle countered that with that there is nothing in the mind that does not first come from an outside source, through the senses. Today's philosophers explore the issues by asking, for example, are gender differences, and how may we become each other.
Nurture is where everyone is born with a blank slate and they gain knowledge through experience and their life learnings.
No. You are who you are because of genetics. You are born into who you are, and that everything you know comes from heredity. Most things are inborn and aren't influenced by the environment in which you are raised by.
Alright, our first point on why nature would be the main cause is our example. Our first one would be Einstein. He's a genius. He was born a genius. He obviously dropped out of school and he got to where he was by not doing school.
Yeah, but he still learned what he learned through his experiences
In school.
in life and in school. Even if he did drop out of school, he learned something through there. So
He only went to school until like 7th grade.
Yeah, but you can't say he was.
How do you
he's
learn?
known
How do you
everything
learn?
he's ever known.
How do you learn how to make missiles and stuff and
How do you
all that
explain-
kind of stuff?
Yeah,
It's
what
just
did
a
he do to
Manhattan
learn all of
Project.
that?
How do you
He
explain,
was just that smart, and you read all those books.
how do you explain the photoelectric effect from a 7th grade education?
What is
You
that?
don't.
Well, he was
Exactly.
smart.
You don't know
Obviously-
in Europe, in college.
Yes, he's obviously
You're not.
very smart, and
Yeah, but you're trying to.
he's
say,
obviously born with the capability to do these things.
You're making the assumption that he's learned all of that and he was born with all of that knowledge. Everything. You're making the assumption that he's born with everything he's ever known.
He's born.
There's
with,
no way there's something he did not learn in school through something.
I'm not saying that. I'm saying he's born with the capability to have that, learn that well.
The capability
The
to
capability,
learn.
like it's
But
in
it's-
his nature.
But it's
To learn
proven. It's proven that you learn by the pathways in your brain and how they make engraves into your brain. So therefore, the more and more you learn and study things, the more the paths in the brain.
Which makes more paths come about.
Yeah. And the more engraved they get, the more you learn.
What I'm saying is, he was born with that ability to learn it that much faster. He has that natural ability, like smart. Like, take for instance, like Michael Phelps. He's born with a genetic ability to be a freak athlete. He didn't learn to be a freak athlete. It wasn't through his nurture to be a freak athlete. Like, he obviously probably lifted weights, but he has that genetic side of him that,
He had to practice to get that good, correct?
yes, but he's still a genetic freak.
But you still had multiple hours of practice to get to where he is today.
Yeah, but many people have the same amount of hours practice and is nowhere as good as him.
True, but that could also be by who you are coached by and who
That
you
doesn't-
are influenced by.
That still doesn't matter. It's still, he's this much better of an athlete because of his genetics and
Yeah,
stuff.
but it's not. You can't say that is all exactly how it happened. What if he was genetically how he is right now, but his mom let him eat junk food forever and he was 500 pounds?
Explain
That's
why.
nurture. His mom let him do that. She didn't, or maybe she did. We don't know.
Oh yeah, how do you know?
Maybe she did. We don't know. But I'm saying that there's no way that you can say.
We can't really go interview Michael Phelps right now.
You can't say that he was born to be the athlete that he is. There were steps that were taken in there to become to what he is now.
He's still born with the genetic features to be a freak.
But if it was only nature of why people become who they are, then why do why are
explain violent fighters then. That's
why
a lot of
are
nature.
identical twins exactly alike?
Yeah, but
A lot of them are.
not
They
exactly-
have
But
a lot of
their
them.
personalities aren't the same, correct?
They resemble each other, but a
But
lot
they're
of
not,
them do
they're
resemble
not
each
exactly alike, and they get their personalities and their intelligence from what they're around.
other. Okay, explain the
going back to violent fighters, but they may be violent, but if they grew up in a violent household, they learned that being violent was okay. They weren't just brought in when they were a baby, they weren't, I'm going to be violent. They learned as they got older that being violent was something that they could do or something they didn't have to do.
Explain a family, like with a family who, you obviously know a family who a lot of people have like a short fuse, like get really mad really fast. That's obviously in their genetics.
Not necessarily.
Not necessarily.
It
Like
could
we
be
brought up
nature.
that way. Generation to
stress,
generation.
or stress makes me that way. But I'm not. I'm a very laid back person. I'm not gonna snap at you. Usually, I'm not gonna let my feelings get mad
Are
at you.
your
But
parents very laid back people?
yes, they are very laid back people.
And are their parents very laid back?
Yes.
Okay, then explain why I'm a very laid back person and all of my brothers are very short fuses.
I don't know. Maybe you really do have
Very
short
short
fuse, but
fuse.
you're just able to control it better than they
What
are.
are your parents?
They're very laid back.
So then how are just some of them have very short
Maybe they're
fuses?
born with it. I don't know. I obviously I'm pretty laid back, and all my brothers have a very short temper. So I don't.
Are they older than you?
Yes, all of them.
All right, so we're gonna on one of our points as human adapting to the environment. I understand that this is something that everyone is born capable of doing, somewhat, but they have to learn. Our thing is that they have to learn how to be able to do it.
Well, adapting to an environment.
Yeah, they have to
All
learn how
humans
to adapt to it. Like, I understand that most are born capable of doing it. I understand, so that's a little on your side. But you have to learn the abilities to be able to adapt. Like, just because I know how to adapt doesn't mean I can build a house out in the middle of nowhere. If I can't build a house in the middle of nowhere, I'm not going to adapt to that place because I'm going to
You're
die.
not born
frozen.
knowing how to go build houses.
Okay, so you're saying that in the sense that, let's use an example of like sexual urges. So they learned to have sex to have children, or did they have that urge?
I think everyone is exposed to sexuality.
Yeah, let's go all the way back. You're saying let's go all the way back and learn how to survive. How did they know to learn to even have sex to reproduce? Or did they have that urge?
So now we're going to evolution.
Well, you're saying back then to survive in the environment.
I'm saying now too.
Houses.
I'm saying now too. People, even now, if I get put out in the middle of nowhere and I have no idea how to get there, I know I have the ability to adapt to the place, but I have to have the resources and the ability to use the resources to adapt. I can't just adapt and become. If I'm a person and I'm out in the middle of Antarctic, I'm not just going to adapt to become a polar bear. Like, that's just not going to work. I have to be able to adapt with my resources and use the resources, which is where the nurture would come in, because I was taught how to use my resources.
Yeah, but it's also nature. Okay, explain like your instincts. Your instinct to want to eat. And have sex. and
Eating
stuff.
and having sex are different than who you
They're
are.
still
Really
they're
not.
still it's nature though. You don't learn to eat, you become hungry and then you
But
just
who
eat.
feeds
Because
you?
little kids
Who feeds
when they're hungry, what do? They put dirt and stuff in their mouths.
But
If they find it
all
on the
kids
ground.
put shit in their mouth.
Yeah, well obviously. It's their instinct to want to do it.
That's
I
not
don't
even
think
weird.
that's just how they like figure out how to like what the thing is. Like a little kid will lick this table just to figure out it's a table.
I feel like that's not how it works. I never lived
I
a table
feel
in my
like-
entire life, and I knew what a table was.
Well, first,
I am a
like,
table.
let's
I bet
say
you probably licked a table once in your life.
a mom is breastfeeding, so the baby doesn't just automatically want food. The mom is obviously going to show the baby, here's your food,
The
and
baby
then
doesn't
he's going to
understand
want
what's
it more
going
and
on.
more.
The baby doesn't understand, oh, I'm hungry. The baby's like, oh,
Well, then why do they
feel
cry?
weird. I feel weird. This is
Why
not
do they
good.
cry?
The
Why
baby,
do they
the
cry?
baby doesn't
Yeah.
know. The baby's not like, I'm hungry. The baby's like, oh, I feel weird. This is not good.
Of course, they don't know that.
I
They're
should
hungry. They don't know
probably
the words yet. They know that they're hungry, but they don't know what the word hungry is.
Obviously, we
They
don't know what
obviously
babies
cry
feel.
when
They
They
start
wanna eat
crying
or
when they're
something.
hungry. They just cry when they're tired. They cry when they poop.
That's their instinct.
But babies
Natural.
cry just when they're left alone.
All right, here. Well, let's go with this.
Yeah, because
How
they
do
need
you
human interaction.
how do you explain language?
Mm-hmm.
If we're going with babies, when babies are born, they don't just when they come out of the room, they're not like, hey, how's it going? Or if they live in France, they don't just pop out and be like, oui, oui. They're taught to speak a language. So you can't tell me that they're born with language.
They're born with I don't, you got me in that one, but still, I'm still gonna back up my point that nature is the bigger part of who you are.
Yeah.
there's obviously some things that you're told, but I mean, overall,
How do you know how to speak?
feel like
you just do it.
I feel like that nurture.
yeah. Are you taught to make the sounds of your mouth, or do you just make?
Or do you just do it?
What about babies when they
You're
babble?
taught.
because you sit there.
Also,
and
babies-
you
so
say,
you-
"Mama."
so you
Say
teach your
mama,
baby,
say
say
mama,
mama.
and the baby's
So
like,
the baby's like,
blah,
okay,
blah, blah.
So like when they're
Mm.
so it's the same reason crying. Do you teach your baby to cry, or does it just do it?
That's different.
Well, no,
How's that different?
Crying, that's like crying.
Well, I
How
don't
do you
know.
not know
Well,
how to cry?
how do you make? Okay,
As
when the
a
baby's
baby?
screaming, do you teach it to scream, or does it do it by itself?
That was by itself. But that's screaming. We're talking about intelligence. Things like
You're
how well
talking.
you
You're
do a
saying
test.
about talking. Something coming
I
out of your
didn't cry
mouth.
as a baby.
Screaming is coming out of your
We're
mouth.
taught
No,
how
I
to
didn't. My
talk.
mom told me I didn't cry.
You're not taught how to
Let's
talk.
say
You're
so-
taught.
let's say a
you're
kid-
taught words to
Let's say a
speak.
kid have a speech impediment. Speech impediment kids go to counselors to learn how to talk right, correct?
So they're taught how to talk.
They're taught how to speak correctly through counseling, through other people.
Explain why babies babble. Then why do they babble? Are they taught to
They're
babble?
trying to talk.
Okay, you
Yeah,
want
but that's
because
well,
they
that's
have
their
taught.
natural instinct.
No,
to
but
wanna
they're
blah, blah.
They're
being
babbling
taught.
until
Some
they're
babies
taught
don't
how
talk.
to.
Some babies are unable to talk. Babies that don't get human interaction
So babies
take
learn how to
longer
laugh.
to learn how to talk.
So babies learn how
Yeah.
to laugh.
Yes,
Or is
Maybe
it just
around
instinct? They
people
eventually
laugh.
laugh.
they see people laughing. They understand. They maybe, like you said, maybe they understand in their head that maybe they are born with humor. Okay, I understand that. Maybe there is, because you can't say that nature. There's no way to say that nature versus nurture, that one is a real thing. I feel like both play parts, but I think it's mostly nurture.
Yeah, overall, I both agree that both play parts, but still.
So we
nature.
can agree that it's both. It's both nature and versus nurture, but obviously we have our own opinions of which one's more.
Yes.
All right, guys. Well, this fight could take forever,
Nice debate.
but I feel like we've both got our sides through and down on this. I think we both argued our sides very well.
But we
And
both come to the conclusion that both are a part of how you become intelligent, how you gain a personality.
you guys
Right.
know that?
Yeah, we're
Yep.
signing out.
Bye.
See ya. Bye.